Like, hey, Chris here. I was actually writing today. I had some notes here that I was looking at. I opened the graphics oriented vector based drawing system, which was actually an application software called Inkscape. Use that to draw up this for ideas on supply chain element supply chains for one of the stories that I'm writing, or yeah, visual representation for one of the stories I'm writing, and it's basically a supply chain. This largest circle in the center is, as noted here at the bottom, central manufacturing location. From the central manufacturing location, there are several distant structures, smaller to larger, further away. And basically, these lines are indicative of like tubing that transports supplies to the further away areas. Oh yeah, so the largest areas are further away, of course, because they need extra space for supplies, so that they go out that far less often, sort of saving energy. In each sort of area, like you see the cardinal points closest or the smallest, those are traveled to more often, so resupplied more often. These less often. So, same type of supplies. Elements don't really like freaking. Well, actually, they do. I think like become something else or expire, have a half life, like radioactivity, stuff like that. Anyway, those less often. That's out toward the external, which I'm thinking that there's closest to this supply chain would be different types of elements needed for different workers, I guess, or something of the sort. And then also this is placed over 60 radial miles, so you go, okay, the external would be like 60, and then you go like in increments of 4, the center being like 15, like 15 miles out, I think. Would be 15? No, 60 30 60 30 15 point of origin, right? So it'd be 15, 30. I don't even know if that makes sense. 60. That's double. So further distance, further away you go, or something. I don't know. That's not an accurate visual representation, though. These are somewhat equidistant, but not quite. So yeah, anyway, I like that idea. That was a visual representation that I searched today. I also found some bookmarks for information. I was reading some on sensory based understandings, emotions, feelings being the least discussed, I guess, least intense of the sort of spectrum of stuff like that. Anyway, each one has a different description. And I was reading someone that like people use the word feelings a lot, and you listen to them when they say it, and it's like, hey, take notice of that real quick because it's supposed to be a private matter. Emotions are intense and outward often, and then you have moods, which are kind of like in intensity or varying. Understandings, moods are more intense than feelings, but less intense than emotions, but all sort of the same sort of category, I guess, human condition type stuff. Okay, so there's that, and then there's words that I wanted to use basically in a piece of writing, and have like an entire list, I guess, or idea of words that I can use that would be very, very similar to the piece of writing that I want to do. And one thing else I noticed is, to be able to write this sort of idea, another part of that I need to add is understanding, I guess, for personality, which is like each one has one. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's this one. Here it is. Okay, so it's wordplay, right? I want to be able to play with words, but I have to have like a larger vocabulary and a better understanding of each sort of factor in that. So it's basically, the scene in space is like, whoa, in my mind, but I don't have words to describe it yet. So, and also, adding to that as I go, which is always, important in development in life. So, our imagery description, which is what we as a common, reader or seer or doer or, conversationalist anyway, that's our perspective. It's very similar. It has to be very similar. If it's not very similar, it's a differing perspective. But at the same time, you can have differing perspective because, of course, you have these, sort of differing personalities and differing histories and so on and so forth. So it's a lot more complicated even than that. You go into like religion and everything that makes a person, their identity. It's like, God, forget it. So I started reading a little bit on characters, like when I was homeless back in 2007, 2008. I was reading a little bit on characters. I think I got like into maybe one or two types. The first one was the adventurist. And if an adventurist does not become an adventurist in the accepted area of society, an adventurist becomes a con. And so on and so forth. So yeah, that's one of my worries. But anyway, I'm not so worried about it. Like I sit at home and write, or read, or clean, or whatever, it's not going to become a freaking huge issue. I'm a homebody. I am body at home. Okay, so imagery description, that's basically our perspective. And something super, how to say, not really up for perspective. It's, like reality-based words, imagery descriptions, colors, textures, stuff like that. Descriptive words like that. And you have Astrophil's POV, which this is going to get incredibly complex, is basically they have differing personalities. Based on those two, do you want to add emotion into that too much? I'm not completely sure. I don't think I want to add emotion into that so much as feeling and be able to POV that without dialogue. So you have the first few chapters that are like dialogue. So you establish like really what the personalities like of each one of these characters, and then you have a sort of feeling. So I'm not going to go emotions with that. I'm going to go feelings. Emotions do become an outward display, but that's after one of the conflicts, like antagonists. Number 1, emotions. Anyway, so there's feelings, senses, sensations, female reproductive anatomy, stuff like that. So I pulled those, and I was like, Astrophil's POV. Like I said, it would have been awesome if a friend of mine would have written this with me, but we have differing styles. I was like, I know. She's like, I don't think I could do this. Like, crap. Anyway, so there goes feeling wise. And then you go further into the POV personality word use differences based on dialogue. The first few chapters, like I was saying. And then imagery, appearances, like I was saying. The imagery is mostly appearances, but it would be like a first person kind of. You can see yourself, but you can't really see yourself kind of situation. So you kind of ambiguity. You sort of meld two and have descriptions on both. Anyway, it happens in flight, lunar shuttle, space vehicle, right? And microgravity, because of course I read some about orbital force and stuff like that. So it's microgravity as opposed to full non-gravity, which is zero gravity. That's kind of like a still object in space, where you're just like there. Anyway, yeah. So I was trying to figure out how to actually like use words to describe that too. That's this morning. Like, my cat was bothering me for quite some time. Now I think she's doing her kitty stuff. Okay, so let's see. Okay, cool. A lunar shuttle, though. Like, how would you go lunar surface? She's like, we're flying into the dark. And then, and then the pilot, like, what do you do with the pilot during a situation like that? It's like, I can't hear you. What do you mean you can't hear me? I don't know, like, what is he doing? He's like, he's in the, do you mind? Pilot chamber. He's in the pilot chamber, listening to heavy metal music. Elemental metal, no. What would you call that? It's like Earth broadcasting to lunar surface. I don't know. I don't really like that idea, though. It's more simple. Like they don't watch TV out there kind of thing. There's more to do, but less to do at the same time. It's not entertainment-based. It's more science-based. So I was thinking about drawing up like more of a okay, so this is gonna be a layer, I think, right? The supply element supply chain. Supply element. What the heck did I go there? Rename. It's element supply system. Okay. So yeah, like a sort of layering. Like these are on the surface, and then between each supply location of this, there are actually more increase too. Wait, 4. 4. The central, there's more supplies. It looks like more often. It kind of evens out, right? By the time you get to the outside, which is about the same number. But the centralmost is only 4. Distance. I'm not sure. Anyway, I might have missed. I'm like cardinal, the central cardinal. I don't know. I like that. Anyway. So that's going to be kind of like layered. There's going to be something beneath the surface, but I'm not sure. You go super volcanic activity. What the heck would they possibly put beneath ground, right? But I'm not sure. It's an island, so maybe underwater. Like, okay, so I have an idea. Oceanography, you go like something beneath the surface on the island. Really, really close to like a drop off. Kind of like a cliff. But how would that work? Like some part of, the Isle of Angels broke away. And now there's a huge cliff, right? And then beneath the surface, basically, you descend to like an oceanography type system. I'm not sure what that is though. It's ecoscience. Oceanography. Like ocean stuff. Anyway, like a huge glass, like a very, very thick glass, kind of like SeaWorld. Like you can see underwater type stuff. And then, I don't know, they send out divers from some sealed portal. I don't know. I think that would be kind of, or boat. They're not boats, underwater vehicles type stuff. Near there. I don't know why. Then like an entire advanced civilization, I'm like, not really, just like the ability to sort of have a setting that's like multi-faceted or dimensional or systemic. So there's a system to it and foundation and stuff like that. Like, yeah, this is annoying, kind of thing. So yeah, I like that idea. I think I'm gonna note that. Like, this is the entire description of the Isle of Angels. I was at, let's see, Continental Travel Protection Agency, weaponry is prohibited, consumerism. Okay, I was at consumerism when I created the little diagram thing. So then you go water supply chain. Central supply chain. Its water creation elements are sold at these locations as well as placed to manipulate household plastics with solutions. I'm like, how do you create water? Anyway, no emissions. So they basically eliminated emissions and waste. Like, how do you do that? It's like, yes, it's possible. Kind of thing. Transportation. Small, slow-moving magnetized trams. Small, slow-moving magnetized trams. Bicycles. I'm like, I don't know though. There's something neat in this sense, but not really, just bikes. I don't know about bicycles though. For magnetized trams, it's only 60 radial miles. They have an entire sort of... That could be spiral actually. Magnetized trams from the center outward. How would that link? Like a infinity, kind of like a track, like a train track, but like a smaller scale, like parks and stuff. I don't know. I was growing up and there was this park in Riverside, California, and we used to go there, and there was several people involved in like a small train, like an amusement train ride thing. No, get down. Anyway, So it's definitely a track, and it doesn't really end like linear. Once you get to the end, you have to turn around and come back, kind of thing. But would that make sense? Like it's two-way, two-way, and there's only one tram. I'm like, what the heck? I don't know about that. Maybe two different heights. So the lower train tram thing goes outward, or yeah, something like that, and the upper, kind of like an amusement park roller coaster, but not so much. I don't know. That's kind of neat though. Like elevated. I'm gonna note this. So lower tram track would be outward helix. Let's see, upper tram track would be inward. Let's see, outward traveling helix pattern. Upper track tram would be traveling inward in a helix pattern. Symbolic, I guess. Symbolic visual would be the DNA representation. Okay, transportation to and from a continent, flight. That's flight. So continent flight. Okay, so somehow let's see, if you have transportation to and from the continent, or the continents, right? They call these the continents because there are. So how do you go there? Like the state of that is like in chaos, and they're not really turned attention to. I'm not sure exactly. It has to be something realistic for us. I'm like whatever. Development, housing in small single-story, hemispherical plastic-like structures, kind of like tactic limits. Arnold and Jeff Jetteroy's idea of the sheltering cube. But that was a cube as far as yeah. Forget it. This is hemispherical. That was cube. Technology manufactured with raw elements in each home. Animal, canine, feline, birds, so on and so forth. I like that idea. Anyway. Each home has a single home orchard, garden, and or atrium. So you go garden, atrium, home, orchard, all three, whatever. Notable difference, grown food nutrition was genetically evolved and nutrition condensed. So you go each item like an apple. Say like a small slice of apple, it'd be like twice the power punch. So you go twice the calorie, twice the this, twice the that, less is needed, kind of thing. Like, that could be possible, I'm just saying. Especially, like, when water becomes less or more scarce. I'll say that way. Just saying. So anyway, they're condensed, they grow that way, and they need less water to be like that. Just saying. Less space to grow, less water, etc. And then there's game, oceanic creatures as well. So, I like the idea of adding, say, like, eco. Eco would be oceanic exploration agency. Let's see, this is built beneath the surface. Beneath the surface of the Isle of Angels. No, so beneath the surface. Let's see. Structure. Beneath the surface. Transportation to and from a continent is flight. Okay, so here's a question. Gotta note this. Where would wait a sec? I already know this flight. It's near the space exploration area. Guarded, not so much. They don't use weapons. You know, I'm not going there. Gosh. Anyway, it was fun. I enjoyed it.